We are back with part 2 of our interview with the one and only Dave Coulier. We are so thankful to him for joining us and being so candid about questions we've never known the answers to. Without further ado, here is part 2 of Dave Coulier.
I would love to hear talking about comedy and stuff, like how you got into comedy. I know, Mike Binder was a big part of that. Like growing up in Michigan and stuff. And
well, Mike talked me into moving to LA when I was 18 years old. I got into comedy just from, the way a lot of comedians do, just through pain. And it was a way to, deal with pain that was happening in my life. I grew up in a really strong Catholic family in a Catholic neighborhood in a Catholic community. And I went to Catholic school. I went to Catholic all boys high school. And so, all that guilt that is associated with that came crashing down on me when my parents got divorced. I was 9 years old. I was in third grade, starting a new Catholic school. And my way of dealing with the pain that was at home, because my parents were both lovely people. They just should never have procreated together,
Right.
But I'm glad they did, but it was my coping mechanism of feeling all this Catholic guilt on a daily basis was to be the funny kid in the class. And so I learned very early how to do voices with my brother. My brother and I would lay in our bunk beds, and my brother was the funniest person I ever known. He was so dry, but so brilliant and witty. And he was a savant. He could play classical piano just off the top of his head.
Oh, wow.
He was a sculptor. He was a painter, but very, very troubled, but he truly was a savant with a lot of different things. And so my brother taught me how to do impressions. And we would lay in our bunk beds at night, and we would do impressions of our neighbors and our family members and friends. And my brother would do these impressions and make me laugh so hard. My dad would run into our room at like 1 a.m. and go, "If you two don't knock it off, I'm tired of hearing Mr. Hooper and Mr. Rondo in here." And those were our neighbors across the street. So my brother Danny and I, we would sit on the front porch, and we called it narrating the neighborhood. And so we would just look across the street and go, "Okay, you take Mr. Maddox, and I'll take Mr. Hooper, and you take Mr. Rondo and Mr. Gatt." And we would just, "I can't stand it, these kids with their lawnmower. I'm just a dumb old buffalo." And then, my brother would do Mr. Hooper. "I can't stand my own stomach." And because he had a huge stomach, and my brother would always do this bit, "I can't stand my own stomach. My belly button is like a jar. I could pour dirt in it and grow a plant." And we would make each other laugh so hard, but we would carry that into our bunk beds late at night.
Right.
And I thought farts were the funniest thing in the world, still do, because I had 9 uncles growing up, and my joke was I pulled more
and some sort of hereditary bowel disease. So
absolutely, yeah. So
needless to say, it runs in the family, quite literally.
So my joke is, I had 9 uncles growing up. I pulled more fingers than an orthopedic surgeon. So I was a funny kid, and my aunts and uncles were all funny. My dad was really funny. My mom was a great laugher. My sisters were terrifically funny. And so comedy for me was just basically something that brought intense joy, laughter. And because I wasn't hearing those laughs when I got home. The laughter would stop when I got home because it was very painful, the relationship between my mom and dad. And then I was a jock. So being a jock, you've got a built-in audience. I would play hockey, and there's 20 kids sitting around, and I would do impressions of the coaches. It was just an extension of what I was doing at home with my brother, but I brought it into the locker room. when I got into high school, let's back up. I met Mark Sandrowski in third grade.
Oh, wow.
And
Mark
Mark and
Sandrowski, by the way, just as a side note here, Mark Sandrowski was, as far as he relates to us, he is one of Dave's best friends, but he was our second AD on Full House for a while, and then he went on to successfully direct Big Bang Theory and win Emmys, and he's directed a ton of shows, and he's an incredible sitcom director, and he's a lovely human being. Side note, anyway, back to you.
So I knew Mark and I met in third grade, and I walked by his desk to go get my paper from the teacher, and he was drawing in his notebook. And I was like, what the heck is that kid doing? So I walked back up my paper. I walked back and I go, what are you drawing there? He goes, oh, these are Martians. And I'm like, I'm going to like this kid. And so we became best friends, and we started writing comedy bits probably end of third grade, fourth grade.
Wow.
And we would do little sketches at the hockey banquets. And, he would always have me do voices, and he would be the straight man and I would do the funny guy. And so,
Isn't that where Cut It Out came from?
Yeah, I stole it from him because he and his brother Dwight were a comedy duo, and they used to open for me, and they were called Ski Squared, Sandrowski. So it was Ski Squared. Oh. And Mark would do this Mark Suave character where he would unbutton his shirt all the time to a woman in the front row and go, I know what you're looking at. Now cut it out. And I told him, I said, I'm going to steal that. So I did. I started using it on a show that I hosted on Nickelodeon called Out of Control. Mm-hmm. And it became kind of my catchphrase. I remember doing Cut It Out at one of our run-throughs early on at Full House. And I remember the producers laughing, and they were like, what was that weird thing you did? I went, oh, cut it out. And they go, we're going to write that in. And they did, So comedy for me, I had a partner in crime early on with Mark. I knew another funny kid. Mm-hmm. And then with stand-up, I started doing impressions in high school at Notre Dame, where Mark and I went. And I could do dead-on impressions of about 6 or 7 teachers and our principal. And one day we're in the cafeteria for lunch, and I was doing this bit using our principal's voice, and all of a sudden everybody's eyes stopped and was looking behind me, and I was like, uh-oh, and I turned around and it was the principal.
Oh, no.
And he talked like this, David, I'll see you down in my office now.
And his name was Conrad Vachon, so I went down to his office, and he said,
you and that Sandrowski fella, those kids follow you. Why don't you do the announcements?
And I said, really? He goes, yeah, you do it. And I said, as you? And he goes, well, yeah, whatever you want. So Mark and I started writing the announcements in the morning, and I would go on as the principal of our school.
Oh my God, that's
amazing. Doing the announcements.
That's so
great.
And
so that's kind of how I really got hooked. And we were always listening to George Carlin and Richard Pryor albums and sketching stuff and creating funny characters. And then we added another friend of ours, Tom Keenan. So everybody called us the Three Stooges. Okay. And we would perform at Oktoberfests and, charities and banquets and the hockey awards, local, the banquet, we would do a show. And so it was really nice. By the time I got to high school, we had a whole troupe of 9 guys, and we would do kind of Monty Python Saturday Night Live sketches to raise money for the school. And so that just led into doing stand-up here in Detroit when stand-up was exploding. My group was Robin Williams, Richard Pryor, Gary Shandling, Bob Saget, Jim Carrey, Howie Mandel, Drew Carey, Dennis Miller, Louis Anderson. It was an extraordinary time to be a stand-up. Jerry Seinfeld, Larry Miller. And it was such an amazing group that you couldn't follow Jerry Seinfeld and do your B material. You had to go on at the Comedy Store and I'm following Shandling, I'm following Saget, I'm following Seinfeld, I'm following Robin Williams. And none of us were stars. We were just comics. You had to go up and really hit it out of the park following those guys because they were hitting it out of the park. So, and I was 19 years old. It was really exciting, and then I was a stand-up for a long time, right through Full House. And then I quit.
What made you decide to quit?
I was burned out. I was doing Full House. I was hosting America's Funniest People on ABC. I was doing voices on the Muppet Babies on CBS, and I was doing voices on the Real Ghostbusters cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, this isn't going to last forever. I'm going to tour. I'm going to do stand-up dates. So there's a theater here in Michigan called Pine Knob, and it's like 10,000 seats. So Dennis Miller, I played there 3 times. I co-headlined with Bob, Louis Anderson one time, and with Dennis Miller. The third time was with Dennis. I opened the show, and then Dennis closed. And during my set, in front of like 8,000 people, I started talking to myself and having this inner dialogue. And I was telling myself how I wasn't into it, how I was just like going through the motions, and like I caught myself. And I don't know how long I was talking. It was probably just milliseconds, but I caught myself having this inner dialogue, and I thought, ooh, you have just been on autopilot. This is really awful. And it scared me. And I walked off stage, and then Dennis and I went out to dinner, and I just told him, I said, I can't do this anymore. And I called Brad Gray, who was my manager. And I said, Brad, cancel the rest of my dates. He goes, what are you talking about, Dave? And I said, I'm burned out. He goes, you got these theater dates. He goes, you're going to make a fortune. I said, I can't do it anymore. I just scared the crap out of myself on stage.
Mm.
So I took like, I don't know, 8 or 9 years off, and then just wasn't interested in it. And, never say never, but I don't think I'll do it again. I achieved everything in stand-up I wanted to do. I did an HBO special. I did the Tonight Show when Johnny Carson was hosting. I was on Showtime. I toured. It was awesome. It was really awesome. But to do it now, stand-up's hard. It's really hard. And if anybody tells you it's not, they've never done it. But it's really hard. And I know what it takes to put an hour and a half together, a killer hour and a half. I did an Air Force tour a couple years ago. I did 24 U.S. Air Force bases, and I had to headline. And it was so much work. And you have to be on a stage every night to get good. And I don't want to do that anymore. It's a lot of work, and Jody, I know you're out doing stand-up, and
Mike Binder actually gave me my first opportunity. He had me open for him at the Ice House. It was my first time getting up and doing original material, and it was because he was like, I've seen you. I know you can do this. I know you can do this. And like, I got off the stage, and he was like, Bob and Dave would be so proud of you. Like, and that meant the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. I mean, I get like, I haven't put as much effort into it because it's also like a young people's grind. You know what I mean? All my friends that are stand-ups, like they're out every night at the club, at Comedy Store, at Laugh Factory, going club to club till 2, 3 in the morning. I'm like, I got kids that got to get up and go to school, and I get, I can do a couple shows here and there, but it's a lifestyle. Being a comic, I see is kind of, and it's awesome and it's great, but it's a lot.
Yeah, and you're either all in or you're not.
Right.
Because audiences will tell you, "Oh, you're not all in."
Right.
Just by their response. And I know how much effort it takes to write and go out. Just to get 5 minutes is hard, to get a 5-minute set together that's rip-roaring killer.
Yeah.
Takes you a month.
Yeah.
Wow.
At least a month. For 5 minutes, so to put an hour together is going to take you a year.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of work and commitment. And I have so many other nice things in my life that I can devote that time to. That, I'm not a laugh junkie. I don't need to hear
Right.
the laughs.
Did you ever have any other jobs didn't you tell me at one time you did like some sort of engineering or something, right? Or
I
some
did,
sort of,
yes.
yeah, like I always love bragging about like you and Andrea and Scott, because like the people that played the stupidest characters on our show were actually some of the most intelligent people. And so I'm always like, Dave's like really bright. Like, don't let Joey fool you.
Yeah, I worked in a mechanical engineering firm here in Detroit. I was a detailer where you had to draw everything by hand. So I had a giant drawing board, and we would design cycloidal transfer units. And so I would take down substations from those huge assembly lines. What it is, it moves parts down an assembly line.
Okay.
And we would design all of these different stations that would, take a piece of steel, rotate it, drill it, counterbore it, switch it,
Okay.
and move it on to the next station, of all this automation that was going to happen. So I would have to break down certain sections of that and draw it and detail it all out, and call out all the parts and how you could machine it. So I did that before I moved to LA, and I have two sides of my brain. I definitely have a creative side, but I also love the technical stuff. Like, that's why I love aviation. That's why I love flying. And
Mm-hmm.
as a kid growing up, I could never really make sense of math or science until I became a pilot. And then being a pilot is all math and science. It's meteorology, it's physics, it's aerodynamics, and then there's communication, and then there's navigation, and then there's, all the technical aspects of just, fuel, navigation. I
Right.
love all that stuff, but it never made sense until I could put it all together in a 3D package, which is flying an airplane.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I love that stuff, which is why I love directing television. You get to be so creative, and you get to work with cameras and technical aspects, and you put that together, and you've got this wonderful, funny symphony.
I was going to ask,
works.
how was it directing the show? Like, how was it directing us?
It was a wonderful experience.
How was it directing Bob? No.
Oh, Bob is such a pain in the ass to direct.
I know.
I mean, he was just, it made sense why directors would just shake their heads all those years, because I would be like,
oh boy,
he's not off book, but he's out of his mind, off somewhere, making people laugh. And it's like, Bob, you don't even know your lines yet. You should probably be taking that energy and putting it into memorizing your lines. But he was a laugh junkie.
For sure.
If he had an audience there, he was going to make sure that they were laughing at him. And, a lot of times it was to his own detriment.
That's true.
I always loved being directed by you. The only times I've seen you serious is when you're flying or when you're directing. Other than that, you're just making jokes all the time, or farting. But
yeah,
I remember,
that's true. We joke. We're like, ooh, it's serious Dave.
It's serious Dave.
Dave is here.
Yeah, I know. But
because you have to be.
Yeah, I built this house that I'm sitting in here, and it was a tough build. It took me 17 months, but I approached it like directing a show. Like, the plans are your script. I just didn't realize I was going to be working with so many shitty actors. Contractors are a whole world, but I loved being able to work with all of these different personalities, doing different things, and then falling back on the script, the plans, to make sure that everything was executed properly. And it was a real challenge, but I'm glad I did it. It was.
We love the pictures of you in your little tractor backhoe thing with your little heater. You're like, look at me go! Yeah, you've got a tractor, and I just always picture Dave. I'm like, he's just plowing something on his property, digging a trench somewhere, happy and just with the dogs, and that's it.
Yeah, today I'm going to be loading stone on our driveway, and we have these big walkways, and I have to put pea gravel in between those walkway pieces, and I'll
So
be
you're
on
gonna
the
have to drink a
tractor.
lot of water.
Mm.
That's right, because I'll pea gravel. Yeah. So yeah, I will be on my tractor later today. Yeah.
Oh well, enjoy. I love that. Do we want
Do
to
you
play
have
one of the?
questions for me?
I mean, we sort
been
of
talking
asked
for an hour.
questions. I mean,
Well, I want to talk about Full House Rewind. We can't let you go without talking
Yeah.
about. Congratulations, your podcast is back. It's very exciting.
Yes.
I love watching it.
Thank you.
It's
it's
truly
really fun.
a unique show that combines video, interviews, impressions, puppets. It's like a variety show, and it's so cool to
is.
watch you create
Thank
this.
you. Thanks. I love being a host. I kind of started in show business being a host, hosting
Mhm.
a series on Nickelodeon called Out of Control. So I wanted to create something that, I could do my voices and have puppets, a little bit of Pee-wee's Playhouse, but kind of drag one foot in the world of Full House, and do
Mhm.
just something different than a podcast, kind of do a video podcast and create like a little show around Full House. So yeah, we relaunched with Stamos as our guest.
Nice.
Great.
I'm so excited because you guys are going to come on.
Yes.
Can't wait.
Yes,
Yes.
it'll be really fun. Can't wait.
I can't wait to see
can't
the set. The set
I
looks
know.
so cool. You got
It's-
like the plaid couch chair, sitting chair.
so-
It's so cool.
It's so tiny, which is a metaphor for my life, but it's just a tiny little set, But
Mhm.
we're having fun, and I get to write the episodes, and it's a real challenge, trying to be funny with these characters that I'm borrowing Mr. Woodchuck and Comet, and
Right.
we have a character Granny Tanner, and all we see are her ankles. So it's been really fun. It's been a real challenge. We're back, which
Good.
I'm going to be very busy again. So
Yeah. What
yeah.
has surprised you most rewatching, or I guess watching for the first, not rewatching, you're watching it for the first time?
You guys were so good. You guys were so freaking good. I mean, you were so funny. Just to have that kind of timing, you can't teach a kid to have timing. You just either have that or you don't. And I mean, because I'm going back to first season, I just watched
Yeah.
a scene, Jody, with you and Candace, where you get it's episode, I think it's 13, called Sisterly Love, where you get the commercial.
The
Oh, yeah.
oat boats. Yes, we did. Yep.
Oat boats, yeah.
The
Oat
oat boats
boats.
commercial.
So I'm watching you two, and then you have that heartfelt scene. First of all, you were so funny in it. Secondly, you have that heartfelt scene, and I'm tearing up. I'm like, it got me.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't expecting that. All these years later, I was expecting to be a little bit cynical about it, and
Yep.
but it pulled me in, and I went, I'm seeing why it was so special to so many people.
Yeah.
Mm.
To rewatch them, because I never watched the show. I always
Yeah.
thought I'll be hooked up to machines, having a Full House marathon going.
You're like, let me just see it one last time. Yeah.
That's right. Oh, look at that. He's dead. He's dead. That actor's dead. That guest star's dead. They're all dead.
I mean, we have had that a few times. We're like, oh, it's so and so. Oh, they're dead now.
Yeah. Little Richard's dead.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah. Comet has been dead for 30
Oh.
years.
I know. I did
It's
have that
crazy.
realization. I'm like, oh,
I
that's
know,
right.
it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. But going back, Andrea, to your point, you guys were remarkable.
Mm.
You were just and you can't fake that. You can't, and you can't fake the chemistry that exists on the show. You
Yeah.
either have that or you don't. You can't
It's true.
manufacture that.
And it for us, I mean, it's kind of been fun to go back, like watching the old episodes and really seeing this family kind of find that chemistry and come together.
Yeah.
Like, you really do see the progression of our relationships on screen you see the Ashley and Mary Kate start really warming up and being much more like a part of it, and them growing up, and you just start seeing the in between stuff of affection and real camaraderie amongst us as a family. And I love that the show really was, it wasn't about this family that already existed. It was about this family sort of coming together and figuring out how to become.
Right.
And I realize now, like, we really watched that. It was like watching these people become the family that they turned into.
And it's also really interesting that we have different perspectives, because while we were out on that stage, you guys were in a classroom, being kids, and, there's kind of two generations here talking about the same show, which I think is really interesting because, you guys are driving to Full House with your moms.
Right.
I'm driving with Bob or John, and we're going to Vegas after the show on Friday night. And you guys are going to a birthday party,
right.
With Mary Kate and Ashley, So I think it's really interesting that we do have those two different perspectives of what life was like as we go back and venture and take a look at these episodes. It's really interesting. Yeah.
Well, I always think about it like I don't really have a part of my life that I remember prior to having Full House in it. I don't have experiences that I really viscerally remember prior to 5 years old, you know? Yeah. So like this has always been a part of my life. I don't, like you guys as adults have like the before and the after. Even I guess really for you were 10, like at same with Ashley and Mary Kate, like there was never a before, there was just what it was and an after, it's kind of crazy.
And there's a lot of questions that we don't know the answers to, such as who came up with the mannequin wearing the same shirt as Joey Gladstone in those first half of the season? Was that you or Jeff?
It was me. Because I just thought this is really weird. I wonder if the audience will get it. And it was just dumb. It was dumb. It drove the prop people insane.
I'm sure they were like, God,
absolute Roger Montesano.
Roger, yep.
Yeah, our prop master. It drove them nuts. And then I realized it's not really it's not a catchy, cool thing. It's kind of dumb.
Oh, I loved it. I enjoyed it. We looked for it every episode.
Every episode we have made quite the issue out of it. And particularly the ones where the mannequin changed during the episode, mostly because it led me to the questions of who is doing the changing and why does Joey have these extra shirts for the mannequin, and do you really have room for a mannequin in an alcove? There's lots of things, but
it begs.
And if you're living in an alcove, you will have to have not only your own stuff, but now the mannequin stuff too. Like it just, I had a lot of questions.
I had a hidden wardrobe shack somewhere.
Right. Yes. Exactly. Well, in that the little yellow bug, which was Joey's car, wasn't it? That we saw twice.
Yeah.
With the frunk.
With the frunk that was your closet.
No, I just
the glove compartment was where you kept all the mannequins' clothes. But
I just watched the Bullet episode. John somehow the car goes into the
right, and he's fine.
No one cares about Jesse.
No one cares. We're like, what happened to the car? Oh, you almost died.
Yeah. So then I directed the episode where you re-crash Bullet.
Oh yeah. Right?
Through the kitchen.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, you got all the difficult episodes. You had the nutcrackers. You had the car in the kitchen.
That show was named Nutcracker for a reason. But I had. It seemed like all the special effects always landed on my episode. And Jeff would tell me, he goes, "I'm sorry, Dave." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You've got this thing where we're doing all this green screen video game stuff."
But I also feel like every week on Fuller House was some new fresh hell of a stunt or a costume or a thing. So it was much more so than the original show. I'm like, and we had a song montage in every episode, but we didn't have a full scale, like, Hamilton costumes or, things like that.
And that Nutcracker episode, that was the first one I directed.
Yeah.
And Andrea, you were so funny in that episode.
Oh, yes.
One of my favorites.
It's
Getting
such
that
a great
dance
episode.
getting the ballet on its feet, and Jeff
Yes.
constantly changing the choreography, or how many times my character died in the ballet.
Yes.
And I remember being
Yes, I
so
remember that.
frustrated. I'm like, Dave, tell Jeff to stop changing his mind. And you were so good talking me down. You were just like, just write it out. Write it out. Jeff will see it. He'll see the problems in all of his
Right.
ideas, and it will all
Right.
come together.
Yeah.
And it did. It all came
I
together
remember,
beautifully.
I remember giving you a bit where you die and you kick your
Oh, yeah,
legs.
Yes.
The feet
Because-
keep.
Because
Yeah.
that's how Curly would die in the Three Stooges.
Right.
He'd always kick his legs, And I always thought that was so funny. And I went, Andrea, let me show you something. This is a Three Stooges move.
Yeah, you were
did
so
it.
good at those
It
little
was-
details. Make such a big difference, and you were
Yeah.
It
so
was-
good at the details of comedy.
It was so funny. It just made me laugh seeing you do Curly from the Three Stooges.
Dressed as a giant rat.
Just as
That was-
dressed as a giant
Just
rat.
as a giant
Yeah.
rat, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The other question we have to put this debate to rest, is it Uncle Joey or is it just Joey? Are
It's
you
just Joey? It's just Joey.
I have been
but
vindicated.
Here's how it became Uncle Joey.
Oh, okay, tell us.
Because in one of the early shows, I forget one of your characters said Uncle Jesse and Joey are coming, and it just stuck where we were kind of the uncles, and we just got bonded.
Right.
And I think there is an episode where one of you guys says Uncle Joey is coming, or Uncle Joey was here or something. But I think it's actually said in one of the episodes.
It is.
Okay.
It's the scene where you're in the shower with all of like this pink hair, like the shower cap and stuff.
He's got
And
the
Jesse-
swimming cap and the goggles, and
Yes.
he's giving the baby a bath or something.
Right.
And Jesse hands you the baby and says, "Here, go to Uncle Joey." That's the only time I've heard
So-
it.
So it was John.
It was John.
John
Oh, it
screwed
was
it up.
John. John probably ad-libbed that. Yeah.
Got it.
Right. Yeah,
It's not-
guaranteed
yeah.
that wasn't in the script.
And it's stuck, but everybody, introduces me as Uncle Joey and blah, blah, blah. It's okay, being
Yeah.
America's uncle. It's nice,
It's a term of endearment.
Exactly.
It is.
Exactly.
Yes.
I just always like to clarify because people are like Uncle Joey. I'm like, well, technically it's not Uncle Joey, it's Uncle Jesse and Joey. But I will let it slide on a
I've
technicality.
just accepted it. I don't fight it anymore. I don't correct
Right.
people.
Yeah.
It's like Jeff Daniels lives here in Michigan, who's very accomplished.
But have we ever seen you two in the same room?
Mm.
You haven't, but Jeff and
Just
I
kidding.
are good friends. And he says if one more person comes up and does that stupid cut it, whatever you do. I said, hey, if one more person comes up to me and asks, are you dumb or dumber?
Oh.
But we've talked about it. And he goes, I don't fight it anymore.
Right. You're like,
I don't
yes.
correct people. I just say, sure, I'll sign it.
Does he sign it Dave Coulier like your dad told him to?
I don't know.
Make sure you sign it, Dave.
Yeah, people, oh, Jeff, how's it going? And then I'll sign it like Shirley Temple. There you go.
They're probably very confused.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Shirley Temple's signature by Dave Coulier on a photo of Jeff Daniels. And
Yes.
the eBay resale on that is astounding.
Oh,
Really.
you want to talk about dumber?
Well, Dave, we're so happy you got to join us. Unless you have more to say, like we could just keep
No,
doing
I
this.
I just know we wanted to keep you. I know you had to be off at a certain time, so we don't want to keep. I mean, we'll keep you as long
Yeah.
as you'll
Always
let
off.
us.
we've been unpacking stuff and I saw the script and one of you guys wrote Billy DeBell inside my script. Is it you?
It might have been. Candace might have. Well, might have been.
Could've been
I don't
any
know.
of us.
I know. I used to draw like I became the one that would just draw inappropriate pictures on people's scripts during notes.
Oh,
I wonder where you
gosh.
got that from.
Do you know I donated?
Have no idea.
I donated accidentally. There was a charity that asked for a Full House script for a donation for an auction, And so I donated it. I think it was a school, actually, like an elementary school. And so the secretary called me after she got the script.
There's a
she was
giant wiener.
Yeah, there's a giant wiener on the back of the script.
Bob.
I was like, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I had to provide a new script because we couldn't auction that off to the children, the needy children. We had.
I mean,
Bob would draw those on my script constantly during notes.
Yeah. Yep. And then I started doing it, and I would draw them on Candace and Andrea's script during notes. Jeff would be giving or Bob Boyette would be giving a note, and I would just be drawing just a wiener on Candace's script, and she was just like, "What are you? Stop!" And I'm deadpan just doing it, and she's just dying. Like, what is happening? Yeah, it was great.
You've taught us so well.
Bob was so nuts during notes. It was so unproductive. It was his moment where he would just lose it for an hour.
Well, he'd been trying to keep it together so well the rest of the day that finally he was sitting down in one place so he couldn't pace and wander off it all came out.
And he would do his Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh yeah. Indiana Jones.
Where he would slice himself open, open himself
Harikari, right.
Pull all his guts out, throw him over a tree, and then swing by his own guts. And because he was swinging from his guts, his lungs would open and close, and that would...
such a detailed bit.
It's such a detailed, absurd... Where and why did this happen, and why is it still funny to us to this day? I don't know. Because everyone else listening is like, that's really gross. That's really horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really sorry, listeners, but this is who we are as real people, and
but I miss him daily, because I'll be driving in my truck, and this time of year around the holidays, Bob would call me and sing a filthy Christmas song. So I especially miss him around the holidays, and it was always something falsetto. And it was always the filthiest take on some Christmas song where he would sing.
Yep.
He was like an insane caroler.
Right.
That would call me. And I have so many bits that I can only do with Bob. And I'll think of one and I'll go, I can't call him and let this out.
Right.
Curse you, Bob Saget. I can't let this out of my skull.
Because if you did it to anyone else, they'd just be like, are you okay? What's wrong with you? I'm concerned. Oh, man. What a wonderful walk down memory lane.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
And I loved hearing just more about, you and growing up and what it was like, and Yeah,
I'd never heard the story about your brother teaching you how to do impressions. That's so sweet.
he was so funny. My brother was he was the leader of all the kids on our block. He was like the Pied Piper.
Right.
And he would do the most bizarre things. Like my brother dressed up like a dead kid and charged $0.25 to see a dead kid. Yeah, my brother built a little funeral parlor down our basement, and I went down the basement, and he had this record going that was just church organ music. And I walked down, and there's light, and he's laying there with a rosary, with a suit on, and he waxed his hair back and put a suit and tie on. And I walked down, and I go, Danny, what are you doing? He goes, I'm going to charge kids $0.25 to see a dead body. I go, how are you going to get them down there? He goes, I'll give you 10 cents of every quarter if you go get the kids.
Wow.
Yes. So my brother put a suit on and made a casket down our basement with a little light shining on him. And I remember he was probably only maybe 7 years old.
Oh my God.
But it was brilliant. And so I would go and round up kids in the neighborhood. I go, my brother's dead and he's down our basement. Do you want to go see a dead body? And the kid's like, he's not. I'm like, it's going to cost you $0.25. So I would bring kids down and it was all scary and spooky. And some kids would run out, because my brother did like makeup and
Right. Like
Like
he
the
really went
whole-
for it. He
the whole
was
like it was called Butch.
you were getting a lot for that quarter.
Yes.
Yours is commitment. Yeah.
Yes.
Production
These-
value.
But we probably made $15, which was a lot of money.
It's also is just a statement to the age-old thing, which is also proven by Stand By Me, that kids just want to see dead bodies.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, and they're weird, but here we are. Kids will be like, I will go on a 3-day hike to go see a dead body.
My brother had the best one-liners too. Like my dad never went to the dentist his entire life. So like every year we'd see a picture of my dad in a family photo and we go, he's missing another tooth. That one's gone. Like here's last year, the tooth was there. So,
Right.
Oh, wow.
so my dad, I don't know why my dad was terrified of doctors and dentists, but he never went to a dentist his entire life. Right. So one year, my nephew Taylor is born. He's a baby, and my dad's holding him, and my dad sneezes, and my brother said, "You better check Taylor's forehead for teeth." So, and I remember my dad getting so mad, but he couldn't mention anything about it because it was like the thing you never talked about. Or said.
Right.
But I remember me and my sisters laughing. We had to walk out of the room because it was so funny.
Oh my God.
But my dad and my brother had a kind of a weird Laurel and Hardy dynamic.
Right.
Where they were always making jokes and cutting each other down, but it was hysterical. So every year at Thanksgiving, my dad would wait till there was a quiet moment and he'd go, "Boy, this is really nice. I'm probably not going to be here next year, but you know what? Thank goodness, I got to spend this Thanksgiving with you guys." And my brother, without missing a beat, says, "Dad, look, when it finally happens, can you just make sure it's on a Thursday so I can set you out with the garbage?" But it was just,
Just that
very
dark.
funny,
Right.
funny, weird family, So by the time I met Bob, I was like, "Oh, I got this."
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
See, I make jokes like that, and my mom's like, what is wrong? Something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
Something is wrong with you.
Yeah. My dad would always say, "Dave, you got a screw loose.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with you."
But yeah, my mom, I wouldn't have joked like that. I go, no, but it's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. This was such a great interview. I could just talk to you for hours sitting here in the rain.
We already have.
And then we have, but we love you. And we can't wait to do your show.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to tell people where they can find it?
You can find us on YouTube at Full House Rewind, or wherever you get your podcasts. It's everywhere.
Fantastic.
And
I
can't wait for you guys to come and do the show. I can't wait to just see you guys because we have so
I know.
always.
I know. It's very hard you living all the way in Michigan now, because I used
know.
to see you a lot more.
Well, you have to come and see this place. It's pretty extraordinary. I will say that.
The giant bathroom house. I can't wait.
It's
yeah,
cool. You
I'm
can
coming
move-
just for the bidets.
You can, yes, spend
Just
as many
a different one
bidet
each day.
years you
I have to
want.
say at least a week.
Yes. You can use a new toilet here every day. Yeah.
It's like an
Oh,
advent.
I
love
advent
you
calendar.
guys.
I'm so glad we ended on the same note that we
Yes.
started, which was
Yes.
bathroom
Toilets.
humor.
Welcome
Yeah,
to
yeah,
this-
yeah.
Welcome to this version of Outhouse. Yes. I love you guys so much.
I love you
we
too,
love you,
Dave.
Dave.
Go have fun in your tractor.
The tractor's right outside, so I'm going to go
Yes.
get that stuff done. But
And tell Mel we said hello and we love her and
Yes,
send big
thank-
hugs. And we will see you soon in person.
Okay.
Can't wait.
all right.
All right.
Yay.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye, you
Dave.
guys.
Bye,
Mwah.
poo-poo.
Love you,
Bye,
poo-poo.
poo-poos.
Bye. That interview went exactly as I
Yes.
thought it would, which was hilarious, but also I don't know what we did.
I can't tell you a thing we
But
talked
also,
about. But
I'm lost. Now, if you want to follow us on Instagram, you can check us out at How Rude Podcast. You can also send us an email at howrudepodcast@gmail.com. Make sure and like and subscribe to the podcast so we can keep bringing you more hilariously fun, ridiculous, full house recaps and mini-sodes. Also send us your questions for mini-sodes. We love to hear those too. And so remember, everybody, until next time, The house is not.
Ah,
I got overconfident.
you're so
The
overconfident.
world is small, but the house is full.
I knew you couldn't do too many in a row. without
That's what.
screwing
Yeah.
up.
That. Yep. Yep.